So you want to gather your materials together. You have your cardboard compass, your paper clip or paper clips, and 2 pencils or a closed pen and a pencil and your paper. So now you're going to make your series of circles. You're going to use your pen or your dull pencil as an anchor. Make sure it's straight up and down. And notice that the paper clip has those 2 loops. You want to pull up against the loop to make the circle as you're dragging it around. You make this smaller circle with this smaller loop. And that's why having a couple different sizes of paper clips will help give you different sized concentric circles. Now remember, don't just do one circle. You've got to do a bunch of circles like inside other circles. All right, so maybe just a couple or more. If you're doing the cardboard compass, then you can put as many holes to get as many concentric circles as you can. And you can go off the edge of the paper, as you can see there. And make sure that you're trying to fill up the paper as much as possible. So I'm doing a series of circles across the paper. And if you're using the cardboard compass, you might want to tape your paper down because the cardboard does tend to stick to the paper and it kind of drags it along. You can also pivot the paper around. Maybe you might need to move the paper rather than the cardboard. Move it around. Some of the smaller circles you might not necessarily see until you're done. So as you can see, some of the lines aren't quite perfect, and that's fine, because then we'll be able to clean them up in a little bit. So this is where you can use like a fine line pen or your Sharpie or your marker. So I'm just doing thin lines with the fine line pen. Make sure that it's like a felt tip pen or a gel pen, not a ballpoint pen, okay? And then very carefully trace your circles. All right, we didn't trace them with pen first because, as you can see, some of those circles are a little wiggly. All right, so when you're done, make sure that you've erased all of your pencil lines. So this is my pen lines and I've erased all of my pencil marks. So now they're like twist up crayons, and I also have some colored pencils, and I ended up using both for this project. You can use just colored pencils, or you can use crayons, or you can use markers, okay? But remember, we're trying to unify or pull together all of our principles and our elements. So we have our shape here, we're going to have some color, and so we also need to think about our principles. Emphasis, repetition, pattern, balance with the circles. Make sure that they're balanced across the paper neatly. I'm mixing my colors. You can experiment with your colors. Okay, do it neatly. Take your time to color things in carefully and neatly. That might require that you go back and forth several times with your colored pencils or your crayons to get the right color blends. And don't forget that you can use your white colored pencils to blend everything together just a little bit better. You don't have to, but it does help pull all of that colored pencil pigment together. And I'm kind of varying the colors. I'm layering a little bit more blue on top of the yellow, going back and forth until it feels and looks right to me. Okay, so you're going to be right over your work, so you're going to be able to see, make sure that you've stayed inside your lines, that you've filled in any white gaps. So continue coloring the entire thing and start thinking about your colors. Be aware of your colors. Think about perhaps doing complementary colors. Remember those colors that are across from each other on the color wheel, or perhaps analogous colors, okay? Those colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. So like, for example, red, red, orange, orange, or green, blue, blue. All right, so next to each other, those go well together. And you want to fill in everything. So every time you hit a line, notice that I changed the color. All right, I changed colors, so I'm not coloring that whole circle orange. I did change colors. I also layered a couple of colored pencils. I mixed the pink and the blue to try to get a little bit of a lavender. All right, think of how you might layer colors to get a color that you don't have. All right, and do it nice and neat. Use your blending white. All right, you're gonna fill in your whole paper with color. Don't leave any blank spots unless it's, little chunks of white on purpose. So just to give you an idea, here is the finished product. And there are a couple little circles or little pieces of white. You can see that I did it on purpose.